All right, going live in three, two, one. Well, this is Totally Random with Katie. This is episode number 5, is that right?
I believe so, yes.
Episode number 5. And I got something to show you that you might think I don't know how interesting this might be to you, but I recently discovered this feature. So we have a comment already in our comment section here, the chat section. It says from Ivan. So if we want, we can bring Ivan's chat directly onto the screen.
Oh, cool.
So anybody who wants to leave a comment, we can, that way it makes it easier for us to read it. So just a little feature I discovered. It's been there all along. It's just I didn't know it existed. So, so how things going with you? Anything new and exciting? We got the Thanksgiving Day holiday. I know it's been pretty cold here. We finally got to the point where we're getting a little bit of snow.
It's been, oh, really? Wow, snow already?
Oh, really?
You're having snow?
Well, a little bit. Not much that really counts. It's just like flurries. So,
yeah, I mean, it's been raining here, so maybe we're getting like if it was a little colder, it might have turned into snow, but it's been pretty like sunny throughout the day. Like I had to work yesterday outside all day and thought it was going to be freezing, but in the sun it wasn't bad. But yeah, I'm curious when the weather is going to kind of turn into winter mode.
We got a comment from Nit. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name. Nitish.
Yeah,
love from India with a couple of smiley faces. So, so that's our. It says I like to be able to show up that little thing. It's just funny. Cool. So I want to take a look at our question from our last show, which was November the 6th. Let me bring this up here. Well, of course, this is kind of a little dated sounding now, but we can still talk about it. How do you feel about daylight savings time? And it's overwhelmingly 60% of our audience said 60%. I'm sorry, repeating myself here. 60% said it's not needed. Next, we have 20% said, I think we need it. 12% with I don't care. And 8% with we don't do daylight savings time.
Okay.
I thought there would be a higher number. That final number I thought would be much higher. Since we have an international audience, I wasn't sure how much of the world does daylight saving time. I know they do it in sections of Europe. I know they do it in North America. So I wasn't sure how broad that would be. So
yeah, I thought it was going to be higher too. I feel like I'm on the fence with daylight savings. Like I don't necessarily like it, but then after like a week goes by, you're kind of like in the routine. I don't really like that it gets dark so much earlier and I'm like having to drive to work. I mean, I drive back when it's dark anyway, so I guess it doesn't really matter, but it's just weird going like either depending on whatever shift you have, like the time changes in the sun and stuff.
Yeah. It's it makes, well, for certain people, it makes you want to, certain people want to go to sleep earlier. They think it's because it's darker. They want to go to bed earlier. So
definitely seems later than it is as I'm yawning.
Well, let's see. We got another high. I'll bring this one up here from, is that Capitan? Jen, I can't pronounce the name. Sorry. So hi back.
Captain Jen.
So let's see. We got Mr. Phillips says, I live in Serbia. Sorry, I can't read the Belgrade? Okay, Belgrade, thank you.
I don't know. Maybe that's not how you say it. That's just what it looks like. It's probably not how you say it. Serbia.
Every 2 seasons, we have daylight savings time. Our clock goes forward or backward 1 hour, and I hate it. In the summer, the day gets longer than the night, and in the winter, the night is longer. I want the night to last longer than the day forever. Want the night? It's interesting.
Interesting. Okay.
You go to well, if you went to if you decide to migrate, say to like the north, close to the North Pole, there are a couple of cities up in. You would have much longer nighttime and daytime hours. In fact, you go closer to get to the Arctic Circle. There are 2 cities, one in Russia and one in the United States. I can't remember the names of the countries, but they're really close to the point where it's like they have like only have 4 hours a day of like during wintertime they have like 4 hours of daylight, and during the summertime they only have 4 hours of night darkness. So during certain times of the year, you'd be much more comfortable, I guess. So
yeah, that's crazy.
Let's see. Mohammed it says we don't do it and it's useless. Matthew said not in Queensland, or is it Queensland? Queensland. Says Michael says I live in Red Deer, Alberta, Canada. I would like daylight savings time to end.
So a
Yeah.
lot of people don't like it. I
Yeah.
think maybe you only really appreciate it if like you have a job that you're getting up really early, like you're out like farming or like I don't know.
I do know that I used to, well, I've always had a job where I've had to get up early because I mainly do like news or traffic. And I do remember going to the McDonald's on a regular basis and walking in, and when daylight savings time, right before it kick in, like we'd have this like the sun would be up at like really early, and as soon as it would, how do it, so it would kick in or kick back, I guess you would say. So all of a sudden the sun would come up an hour later, and I
Mhm.
would walk in at the same time to get my McDonald's breakfast. All of a sudden, the line was gone. I was like, I was the only one in line. But the day before, there'd be like a long line of people because the sun was already up. So
Oh, wow. That's great. Yeah, I guess it affects like getting food in the morning too, maybe.
yeah, yeah, and it would stay like that too until, and the people seemed to sleep based on the sun. It was really bizarre. I
Mhm.
don't know. Maybe it's just McDonald's that did that. I don't know.
I mean,
So
it's hard to sleep when it's light out. Sometimes I'm like, I want to take a nap, but it's so bright. Like, I don't know how I would fall asleep, like knowing that there's sun outside. But
let's see.
yourself.
I can't read this. Sorry. Let's see, is that I'm sorry, I can't read this comment very well. So it's a different language. Sorry, I'm trying to read it. He says, daylight savings time, everything is a scam. Um, I live in Arizona. I think we're the only state that doesn't do it. I think we looked that up, didn't we? I was
Yeah,
like,
Arizona was
Arizona,
one of them, and I think like one of
Hawaii, right?
Hawaii. Yeah, it was like Hawaii, Rhode Island, something.
Yeah. So we got I hated it and algorithm. Not sure what that means exactly. So hmm, okay. Well, yeah, it seems like overwhelmingly the people, at least on our poll, just don't seem to want to have it. So
No.
I'm kind of tossed in the air, up in the air with it. I don't know. It's nice to have that extra hour at nighttime, during the daytime, during the summertime, I guess. But I don't
Mhm.
know. I could see the argument for or against. So let's see. You had a question for our audience for this week.
Yeah, so I guess since it's like the weekend after Thanksgiving is now the time you start putting up your Christmas decorations, or are they already up?
Yeah.
So when do you start putting up your Christmas tree and Christmas
When?
stuff?
Okay. When?
Although, is Christmas, does it have another like Hanukkah? I don't know if there's like another name for Christmas. I
Let's
guess
see.
like I don't know if that's like it's religious, but I guess you could say like when do you start putting up
Holiday
your
decoration.
tree? Yeah, and your holiday decorations. When do you start putting up holiday decorations? Yeah.
Because there's Hanukkah, then there's Kwanzaa, there's
Yeah.
Christmas, and I think there's might be one other, but I'm not sure. So holiday decorations. Do you want me to add the Thanksgiving part in there somehow, or
Um, well, it could be in
I guess one of
the
the responses? Yeah, of
yeah.
course. So that would only cover the United States and I think Canada. So I think those are the only two countries that have a Thanksgiving. So
Oh, okay. So,
and they're celebrating, and Thanksgiving for Canada, I think is celebrated in October, if I'm not mistaken. So, but yeah, okay. Let's see. When do you start putting up holiday decorations? Oops. Okay. So, what would the first response for that be?
I already have them up.
Okay. Oops, I lost my mouse. Give me a second here. There it is.
No.
I already have them up.
And then maybe the first week of December.
First week of December. December. Okay.
And then I guess you could say like
Just
right
after
after
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Oops. Okay.
Um, I don't put up decorations.
Uh,
I think that's probably good.
Up decorations. Did I spell it right?
Yeah, something smells in my apartment all of a sudden, and I'm like,
Uh-oh.
what is that?
Is this a bad smell? Good smell?
It kind of smells like Okay, I think my cat just pooped on the floor.
Oh,
I was like, "It smells like poop," like, I don't know if I can say it smells like something, and I'm just like, "Why?" I don't understand why she, like, isn't using her litter box all of a
oh,
sudden.
oh, I hate that. You know what's really aggravating, and out of the I hope this doesn't happen to you, but I'll smell that. I'll get into my car and I still smell it, and I go to work and I still smell it. It turns out I stepped on it. It's stuck to the bottom of my shoe, and I'm walking around with it stuck to the bottom of my shoe all day. So
Yeah, that's not good. I'm, like, tempted to go pick it up because it's, like, sitting right in the sun. That's probably why it's so cold. Why didn't you use the litter box? She's just looking at me like I'm stupid.
yeah, I don't understand. Fortunately the two cats I have right now just they use it every time, so I don't have that kind of issue. But I have had that problem in the past. So
She, like, just will randomly do it. I don't know if it's, like, days, like, I'm not, like, around as much and she's just, like, mad, so she just poops on the floor because she's, like, running around like she's not sick, so I have no idea. Just to get my attention, I guess.
mhm. Let's see. So I know you said that looks good. Anything else you want to double check just to make sure we're good before I post that?
No, that looks good.
Okay, there's my mouse. It's disappeared. Okay, there we go. My mouse keeps on disappearing there. Okay, cool. Alrighty, we can come back to that. And let's see. Got a couple of coming from Pivot Boy. Says good afternoon, y'all. Uh Irwin says heart. So thanks everybody. And oh, he says he's been watching for 5 years. Okay, thank you. Same thing on before. So alrighty, cool. Let me get rid of this. All right. So as far as your Thanksgiving, did you have a nice Thanksgiving? I know you had you said you've been working and everything. So
Yeah, I did get to spend Thanksgiving, with some people, so or yeah, with people I care about, so, it was nice. I was able to I made some beer cheese dip. I don't know if you've ever had that before. I guess this lady I work with was telling me it's a very Southern thing and I have to make it for Thanksgiving. So it was like the first time I ever made something like that. And it ended up being a success, which was nice because I had no idea what I was doing. Because it's interesting. I was actually joking around. I would like I've heard that recipes like in the South, a lot of people are like, oh, it's like a dash of this, a splash of this, and like there's no exact measurements, and then it's just like no really instructions. And then when I got this recipe for this dip, like it was like a picture, like someone had handwritten it out, and it was literally like a splash of beer, a splash of this, a dash of paprika, like a couple blocks of cheese, a couple cloves of garlic. And I'm like, well, how many? Like, how do I even put this together? There's no like, it didn't like have like steps in it had to even like what goes first. So I was like, well, I'll just do what I think looks right and see how it turns out. Because it looks like a lot of dips are like hot dips, but this was a cold dip. So I guess like yeah, that second row first one. Um
this
no, the first one.
oh
Or
first
that was the third one. That was the third one.
third one that
No, the second row, third one. I'm like
oh
pointing at it like you can see my finger.
there you go.
Um,
Is that
yeah, I
it?
feel like it was more cold like that where you could dip like pretzels or chips in it.
Yeah,
Um,
I've never heard of it. So how much beer did you add to this?
I only added so I got like one of those like taller cans, but I only added like maybe a fourth of it, a third of a cup, but you could taste it. It was like pretty like yeasty tasting, I guess, or like beer tasting.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah.
So I based on what you're saying, it sounds like it has a name, and whatever you add to it, each person's going to have a different taste. Yours is going to taste different than the person that lives next door to you, and so forth and so on, right?
Yeah, depending on what you all add, because I think she was like, "Add the another block of cheese," and I was like, "This is so cheesy." Like, I can't even imagine adding another block. Because I think it called for like 2 blocks of cheddar cheese. It called for 3, but I think I used 2, and then it called for like a block of cream cheese, and then just garlic and beer. That's pretty much it.
Hmm. Now, does it taste good? How does it taste?
Yeah, it was good. It was better the second day, like once all the flavors kind of marinated. But I fry the garlic. I don't know. I do this with my guacamole too, because I feel like it really brings out the flavor of the garlic if you fry it. Because if you're just putting it in raw, I feel like you're not releasing those like whatever is in the garlic, like the stuff, the oils maybe. So when you're frying it, I feel like it kind of like breaks that open and they kind of come out more. So I do that with like any kind of dip that I'm putting garlic in. I'll always fry it first.
Hmm. No, I spent about 3 weeks when I was younger at my uncle's farm in Pennsylvania, which is very extremely rural part of Pennsylvania, and this thing that they called scrapple. You ever heard of that?
That sounds familiar, but I don't know what it is.
Well, it's this is my uncle, he's passed on, but since this time, but, when he was still alive, he used to raise pigs, and what scrapple was is he'd kill the pigs, and bring them into the heads into the house, and he'd scrape off all the meat, everything off of the head of the pig, and then fry it up. S and I remember when he brought the pigs into the house, like I said, I spent 3 weeks there. He had a big freezer in the pantry area, and, there was, like, all these pigs' heads inside the fridge, and it's frozen, and he'd come in, he'd just he'd scrape everything off the pig's head. Everything you could scrape off would be scraped into this mix, and then heat it up, and that was what was scrapple for them. I think scrapple is different for everybody, though, but
So just the actual head was in the fridge, or just like
yeah,
the meat?
it was the actual head,
Oh, okay.
and, let's see what they got well, okay, this doesn't really show I don't really remember what it tasted like, but it was kinda grotesque to see these big pig heads inside the, freezer.
Yeah.
It wasn't a refrigerator, it was a deep freezer. It was one of these big things where you open up like a chest kind of a thing.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so it wasn't like you were like, there'd be I don't think they would put that in their own refrigerator because they had a regular refrigerator too,
Yeah, I
um
have a separate freezer for that kinda stuff. I
but yeah, apparently it's what I was told, at least by my uncle and his wife, that at the time it was one of the most like a delicacy. Everybody loves Scrapple, so I don't know. I'm just curious if anyone's ever heard of Scrapple. Every time I bring it up, some people say I've heard of it. Yeah, no, I've not heard of it. I used to work with a guy from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which was not the same area that my uncle is from. My uncle is like near Altoona, which is like the middle of the state, and it was apparently the guy from Pittsburgh had heard of it, and I think he knew of it, I think his version of Scrapple was something completely different. I don't think they scraped off the pig's head. They did something else.
they, like,
So,
fried it or something. Yeah, that's interesting. I feel like I've heard of that, like, being down here, but maybe not. I'll have to ask.
yeah, it's one of those things. It's like it's probably better that you don't know where it comes from. I mean,
Yeah,
at least for
I
me,
don't
because
really anyway, but
it's because it was just it was kind of weird seeing these pigs' heads in the freezer and then them scraping everything off the pigs' heads. It was just like, nope, it's no big deal. It's like, but that's just the way it is where they are. So, but yeah, and I don't remember I remember tasting something, but I don't remember I don't remember it being so great that I was like, oh yeah, I've got to eat this all over again. I don't remember being like
does it taste like
horribly
ham? Because
well,
it's
it's just I don't that's the thing, I don't remember it's so long ago. So, it was only like I was like 19 years old, so I was very young at the time. So, and all I remember was that I didn't really hate it, but I didn't really like it either. So, and I couldn't figure out what it was so appealing about this to them. In fact, I think this is kind of what it looked like, something
it
like
kinda
this.
looks like spam, like fried spam.
It's very well maybe that's just what they call spam. I don't know. So, but I mean, anyway, it's just one of those things. Apparently, I guess they sell it too. It's interesting. You see these brand names, Scrapple and everything. So, but yeah, country style Scrapple. I think that's the only type there is. I don't think there is a Scrapple that's in the city areas. But anyway,
It's funny. Someone must buy it. I mean, people buy spam, so
uh-huh, uh-huh. And I don't imagine this is going to. Well, maybe where my family lives. I also have other relatives that live in that general area. I assume that maybe this is also something that maybe it's seasonal. I can't remember exactly because I do remember when I was there, it was the middle of January, so it was freezing, and the
okay.
temperatures dropped to below 20 every night, or during the daytime it was below 20. Excuse me. During the nighttime it was below freezing, below zero. I mean, and so it might be a seasonal thing where it's like that's the time where they take the pigs in to get them slaughtered, and it's
Yeah,
just and so it was it was just basically a thing that were, it's at certain times of year, like you have like the fall stuff, like we were talking about fall foods, that we have like pumpkins and things like that. I think this might be more like a winter item of some sort. So
probably because I think pig season is right now,
yeah,
at
yeah,
least here.
yeah. So, but it was quite an experience living for 3 weeks on a pig farm. It's kind of interesting. So, definitely very dirty. Very much had to take a shower on a regular basis. That's anytime you go on a farm, I don't know if you ever spend time on a farm, but it can be pretty filthy. So,
Not an actual farm, no.
yeah. I will say this though, if it wasn't for the isolation part of it was really nice. I mean, if you really want to be isolated, I remember my uncle telling me one time that if you sat on the front porch of his house and you would probably never see a car drive by throughout the entire day, even though there were farms all over the place. That's how isolated it was. It was just so much out in the middle of nowhere. He had 90 acres of land, and it was I do remember he asked me to come back and help him cut some trees down one day. We walked way to the back of his property, and as we're walking back there, a plane, I don't this was really weird. A plane, like I want to say, like a passenger plane, not a full-size jet, but not a small Cessna either, like midway between those two, actually flew over top of his farm like they didn't know where they were located. And I was like, "What is a plane doing out in the middle of nowhere?" So,
Yeah.
but,
Huh.
but yeah, it's if you're looking for isolation and, yeah, that's the place. This is, like I said, just outside of Altoona, Pennsylvania. So,
Okay.
but, no, I just wanted to we got one more question here. Well, this is, more for me than for you. What was my first encounter with the GTA series? Um, well, I will answer that question. I used to work with 2 guys, and Grand Theft Auto San Andreas came out like a year before, and both of them were telling me it was such a good game, so I went ahead and purchased the game and started playing it. So that was 2006.
Hmm.
The game had come out like 2005 or actually 2004 actually. So, but
Is that stand for Grand Theft Auto? Or
yeah, yeah,
oh,
exactly. Yeah, yeah, the GTA Grand Theft Auto series. So, and Pivot Boy was this question there. Thank you for that. So, alrighty. Let's see. As far as we were talking about Christmas coming up. As far as are you putting up your decorations anytime soon, or?
I think okay, so I either wanna put up my Christmas tree tonight, because I have some time tonight to do that, or I was thinking but then I'm like, "It's still November, so is it too soon to put it up?" But it is now Thanksgiving has passed, so I feel like I'm okay more about putting it up, and I wanna be able to enjoy it for the few weeks that before I go out and travel. But either this weekend or next weekend, I think is what it's gonna be.
No, I don't know if I brought this up before, and if I did, forgive me on this one. I don't like repeating myself. But several years ago, probably at least 10 years ago, I dated a woman from the Philippines,
Okay.
and we went out a few times, and she told me that when in the Philippines, and I've heard other people say this as well, and maybe our listeners can back this up too, but that in the Philippines in September, as soon as September 1st rolls around, that's when the Christmas decorations go up. So,
Okay. And I feel
and
like oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, I just so basically the last 4 months of the year is just basically Christmas for them in the Philippines. So
Oh, 4 months?
yeah.
Wow. So they keep it up like December, January, February until March?
No. September, October, November, and December. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So,
Oh,
and like I said, I've heard other people say this as well. So from September 1st onward, you'll see Christmas decorations everywhere. So it's just a regular thing.
it just feels too soon. Like, I see, like, Christmas decorations and stuff outside right now, and I'm just like, it just I don't know if it's just because there's not hasn't been snow yet or, like, if it's just still kind of warm or, like, why it doesn't feel, like, Christmassy yet. So maybe I'll wait another week, but
Are you the only person like you said you've seen other people in your immediate neighborhood? Are you talking about in your immediate neighborhood or like within the area? How would
um,
you or would it be like stores? How would you describe it?
yeah, like, just driving around, I passed this house, I think it was last night on my way home from work, and it was so decked out. It was so pretty. Like, I can't even imagine how many hours they put into, like, decorating this house. But I'll, like, occasionally, like, in my apartment complex, like, people are putting their trees in the window and I can see them, but not many people have them up yet. But there's been some people and, like, putting, like, Christmas lights around the balconies. Maybe I will do that tonight just to have it up and enjoy it because, like, it takes a while to put up and then you don't then you have to take it down in, like, a month. Although one thing is, like, I feel like if you have pets, they always wanna play with the tree.
Oh,
And
goodness,
I don't
yes.
have any ornaments, so it's literally just a tree with lights. Oh, well.
Yes, make sure you have a tree where they put the ornaments up higher, I guess that's the best. Well, but then again, if you have a cat, cats can climb up and climb inside the tree. I don't know if you ever had that happen. So
No, she'll like lay in it. Or she'll try to like jump at it because she's pretty much a dog, and she'll like try to like she won't just sit under the tree nicely like on a blanket. She'll like try biting at it. I think she probably ate half the tree last year, so I probably shouldn't even put it up.
I I do know that when I was a kid, my dad had this fascination for some reason. He loved blue lights. That was his favorite. So
Oh,
he would just decorate the outside with blue lights. And so one year, when I was a kid, I beat him to it. I took all our Christmas lights. I took them outside. I took all the multicolored ones. I took them outside and put them outside instead of the blue lights. So, so but
was
when
he
Christmas,
mad
when
about
this
that?
my what's that?
Was he mad about that?
No, no, it was just kind of funny. It's just kind of a fun little thing we were doing together. So, um, I do remember, what was it? Let's see. I'm going to. I don't know if I've shown you any of my older. Have I showed you any of my older photos when I was a kid?
I don't think so.
Okay, hold on a second. I will. I can. I think I have some Christmas photos I can show you. Since we're talking about Christmas, I can bring some of these up here. Give me a second here. Okay, here we go.
When are you gonna put up your tree?
Yeah, this is. Oh, I'm not putting up a tree. Sorry, I don't put up a tree. I just have the cats here, so it's just me. So I don't really bother with that.
Me too, but it's I don't know. I like the feel of like just Christmas lights on. It just feels like it makes my space feel a little bit more homey. I think that's why people are putting. Have you seen those LED strips? Like I feel like those are getting really popular, where people are putting them like up like along their ceiling or like on like bookshelves or just like under like the what are those called windowsills and stuff like that. Have you seen those like strip lights and then they're different colors?
Um, I probably haven't. I don't want. I want to say yes, but I don't know. I don't want. I don't want to commit to that. I, mean, I probably haven't. It sounds familiar, but I'm not exactly sure. So the as far as the as far as Christmas, the only thing I may do is I may get maybe I'll go to my dad's place and he and his wife they love Christmas, so they'll have Christmas. So that would be my version of maybe seeing a Christmas tree. So okay,
Mhm.
here's a picture right here. Just about brought it up here. Whoops, I keep on losing my mouse. Okay, here we go. So here we go. This is me. There we go. That's me, and
Oh,
that's my sister.
cute.
That's my this is when I was like, see, my sister's 7 years younger than me, so she's like 5. I'm like probably like, so would that be 12? I'm about 12 in that picture there. So there's our Christmas tree on the side there. Um,
So cute. Yeah, you got little like garland stuff.
oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. So let's see. Maybe another
So
Christmas
crazy,
picture.
like the quality. Like I love old time pictures. They're so like I don't know what I even said to say like vintage.
Yeah, and
Is-
my I'm not sure who took that last picture. I think was taken by my dad. He was a professional photographer. So this one's probably taken by my aunt. That's with my aunt's house, so you can see her decorations in the windows. See these little stickers right there in the windows.
Yeah.
This was a big thing. My mother and my aunt, who's my mother's sister, they love these things. So when I was a kid, we used to put these little decals all over the windows. So
Yeah, those are cute. I should get something like that and put them in the window. Although I feel like I'm not sure if you could see. But those are cute.
uh, let's see. Any other Christmas pictures? Nope. Sorry, not there. Let me see. Maybe I can
Where
go
do you
back.
get your red hair from? Does your mom have red hair?
No, it might look like it in the picture, but no, she has blonde hair. She has. It's it. I'm not sure. Actually, it's not red anymore. It's actually more. It's like a dark brown now. It's actually changed. There we go.
I like
So
that.
when I was a kid, yeah, it was very bright red for some
Yeah.
reason.
I feel
Yeah.
like mine was it wasn't that bright, but I had redder hair when I was younger too.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Okay.
Mhm.
And so there's our Christmas tree right there. So oh, and the
Good
decals, of course, in the
decorations
window.
in the back, yeah.
So there we go. So that's and I will say this: most of the time we had a fake tree, but one time I think we did get a live tree, and the needles were all over the place. I'm not
Oh, yeah.
my my dad and I are not big fans of the live trees usually. So
I mean, I love the smell of them, but they're a lot of work.
yeah. So as far as the as yours, would you oops, I'll get rid of this. We don't need to. So as far as like the image, anything else that you're going to put up as far as the tree? What kind of, I saw what kind of tree I was going to ask you. Is it going to be a small tree, big tree?
It's medium sized. It's probably like maybe 8 feet, maybe 9 feet. It's a little bit
Wow.
taller than me. So yeah, maybe like 8, 7, 8 feet.
That's a
Uh,
pretty big tree.
Or
Wow.
maybe 6 feet. Wait, how tall am I? At first, I was thinking I was 6 foot. I am not 6 foot. It's probably 6 feet. I was thinking I was like six. I don't know why I was thinking I was 6 feet tall. Um, so I mean, it's like medium size. I just have lights though. I might go out and buy some ornaments, but I don't know. I feel like I never know what color I want, and then I feel like, and the ornaments are kind of expensive, and then I feel like you're gonna have to buy like if you want to do them again next year. Um, so I'll probably just put up lights. I don't even remember if I bought white lights or rainbow lights.
Rainbow lights. As far as, well, I mean, if you were to get a tree, I guess, in the ornaments, I mean, I mean, wouldn't you have these already? I guess I don't know, or is this what's that?
Yeah, I have a tree and lights. I just don't have ornaments.
Oh, okay. I got
And maybe I did get rainbow lights and then no ornaments. I honestly don't know. I'll have to go look.
if I'm not sure how to pronounce the name, says oi, and we love we get a lot of people that say oi. I'm not exactly sure why. So
Does that mean hi in another
I
language?
I
Or
think
like,
so. I
yeah.
know in Australia people say oi a lot. So
Mhm, mhm.
so I'm sorry I interrupted you there. You said you were doing what now? I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, just putting up my tree and lights. Maybe I'll get ornaments. I'm depending on if I find ones I like.
Okay. The well, the as far as like I said, my dad's place, when I go over to him, if I go over to his there, he'll have he and his wife is very religious, so they'll have definitely have some sort of Christian aspect added to it, and in some way. My dad is not religious, so it's but he'll have the Christmas music playing, and it'll be very much a Christmassy kind of a feel. Whereas if you come to my place, it'd be the exact opposite. You wouldn't even know it's Christmas. So
Yeah. It's funny. It's yeah, some people go all out and I love that. I just don't have the time or decorations.
yeah, yeah. um, now as far as trying to remember my best friend, he has a when we were younger, about the same time I went to my uncle's farm, in my late teens, early 20s. He would I would go to his mother's house, it was his parents' place, and they would put up a tree, and for some reason, they would always want me to participate with putting up the tree. I was like, I wasn't really into it, but I was like, okay, I'll do it anyway. So I
Mhm.
helped them put up the tree, and I mean, it was because I'm part of their family essentially. We're that close. That's how close we are as friends. But I mean, it was always, and I was like, I wasn't really in the mood for it, but they said, "Oh, come on and do it anyway." So I put up the tinsel and all that. And I was so. But his parents have passed on, so I don't know if he even puts up a tree anymore. He probably does. I do know back then it was a large tree. He was definitely into the live trees, always into the live trees for some reason.
Yeah.
And nowadays, I think he probably just since he's mainly it's just he's just mainly by himself. He probably just gets a small tree. I think I haven't talked to him a little bit about that. So he's so far away. I'm not even sure anymore. So,
We
but
should ask.
yeah, yeah. He's occasionally he listens to these shows. He's not listening right now. I'm sure if he was, he'd leave a comment. So,
Mm.
but, so anyway, the I did want to well, since I guess it's not really a good segue into what I wanted to talk about, but I did see the new Ghostbusters movie. Have you had a chance to see that? I think you said no, right?
No, that's in theaters right now? Uh,
That's right.
what is that one called again? That's
Uh,
the
yeah, Ghostbusters Afterlife is the name of the
oh,
movie.
okay. Yeah.
So, and I gotta admit, I gotta be careful how I say this, but I didn't see it in a theater, so I saw it through other means. I won't get into details of how exactly how I saw it, but the in fact, I don't know if I said this before, but there are the county that I live in Virginia does not have a movie theater anymore. In fact, if I want to go to a movie theater, I have to drive into another county just to see one. I live in the middle of the county too, and it's a large county. So they the closest theater is probably at least maybe 15 miles away from where I live, maybe 10, 15 miles away. So it's I don't know why there are no more theaters. The oldest theater, I'm sorry, the last theater that was in my county that was torn down probably about 6 or 7 years ago. So
Oh, so it wasn't because of the pandemic? Because I know a lot of theaters closed around here because of that, and they just have never reopened.
mm, yeah, no, it was definitely not because of that. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if because of the pandemic it kept a new theater from being opened because there was talks of them opening a new theater not too far from where the other one was,
Mhm.
and maybe they were just like, well, we don't want to, we don't have the time. We don't. Nobody's going to be going to the theater, so they decided to hold off on building it. But yeah, I will say this though, before they tore the theater down, I do remember going to see a movie there a few times, and it was a very older style theater, like from the 1990s.
Mhm.
I don't know if one. Do you go to modern? Do you go to theaters? Do you go to modern theaters at all?
I used to go a bunch, like, 2 years ago, like, I would go every Tuesday because they had, like, $5 Tuesdays, and I would go with, like, friends or whoever, like, every Tuesday, I would go to try to see a movie.
The the modern the theaters you go to, were they like, did they have the stadium seats?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because this one had this older style where like you were sitting in a flat level. Like, it's like everyone was at the same level. The people behind, like where you would be sitting, were at the same level. So, like if you were sitting down in a theater, you could have someone sitting in front of you blocking your view.
Yeah, and then you
So
won't be able to see. I don't get that. I always get mad when someone sits in like, there's all these spots usually in the theater, and it's like, "Can't you sit somewhere else? Like, do you have to sit right in front of me that you can't see?" And so I, like, purposely try not to sit, like, in front of someone because, like, I know I get irritated with that.
yeah, or what's the other thing that bugs? Well, at least that bugs me is when you get somebody that's sitting behind you and just keeps on kicking the seat. You ever had that?
Mhm. Yeah, I remember I went on a date with this one guy, probably, like, over a year now ago, but, like, we had to sit in the back row of the theater, and, like, my eyes, like, aren't that good, like, I have to wear glasses if I'm, like, looking at something really far away, so I didn't even, like, think like, usually when you go to the movie, someone wants to sit in, like, the front, but he, like, had to sit in the back row because, like, he was, like, traumatized from, like or he, like, doesn't like the feeling of someone being behind him where he can't see. I think he had some, like, PTSD or some kinda trauma from being in, like, the military or something, um but yeah, I thought that was really interesting that, like, we had to, like, sit in the back row, and when I made a comment, like, "Can we sit a little bit closer?" He kinda, like, freaked out and was like, "No, like, we have to sit in the back, like, unless you really want to," like but then there was, like, other people sitting in the back too, but I just thought, yeah, I mean, I get it, but I just thought I've never really heard of that before.
That's interesting. I will say when I was a kid, for me, the fascination was sitting in the very front row. It's like, and
Yeah.
when I was like 10 years old, it's like, oh goodness, I got to sit in the front row. And then as an adult, you start realizing, yeah, that's not really fun because you're popping your head straight up at the screen, or at least on the older style. Yeah.
Stare or, like, yeah, you have to, like then you have, like, neck pain after the movie.
And I remember, I think it was the movie, Fletch Lives, which is, I don't know if you know, Fletch, which is a Chevy Chase movie. It was Fletch, and there's
Mhm.
a sequel called Fletch Lives. We got into the theater. We got in late, and not only did we sit in the front row, but we sat to the side. So we had our heads, we're looking up and turning our heads to the side just to see the screen. And it was like looking at us, the screen sideways. It was really annoying. And I don't even know why they had seats like that. Have you ever seen it's something I don't even know, um, anybody could tolerate that. I was just frustrated by it the whole time. It's just I'm sitting there and like the screen is to my right. I'm facing the other way. And it's like the screen was flat. It was like I think I'm describing this right, but basically you could see the flatness of the screen. That's how sideways we were. It's like looking. We weren't able to see the whole screen essentially because in a sense, because it was just we were seeing it at an angle. It was just so bizarre. I wish I'm glad I've never had to do that again, but it's just one of those weird, unique experiences I've ever seen. I've never seen a theater like that since. I don't think they design them like that anymore. It's just one of those weird things. So
Yeah, that's really interesting. I've never seen anything like that.
I will say the Uptown Theater in DC, which is a very old theater, is has a balcony, and that was always fun. The balcony, the front row of the balcony seat was probably the best seat in all of that in that particular theater. I'm not saying all balconies are the best, but we'd walk upstairs and go up to the balcony and get the front seat. And the that theater was, like I said, very old and very classic, and they maintained it very well. And it was always and whenever there's like a major release on a movie, if it's done in DC, they'll actually show it at that theater. It's one of these well-known theaters in DC. It's like, where they show the new movies. And that's probably one of the best seats I've ever had. And it was just being on the front row of the balcony, that is. And it was a huge balcony. This theater seated a lot of people. So, but
Is that still around?
yeah, yeah. The Uptown Theater is in Northwest DC. It's on Connecticut Avenue, and but yeah, I don't think they'll ever tear it down. It's one of those it's one of those historical type theaters, so they'll never get rid of that. So
So if you're going to DC, you should check it out.
yes, very much so. So we got one more comment. It says, "Hi Zoom, hi back." So I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, so but sorry, I don't want to butcher it, so I won't say it. But hi, thank you. So, But anyway, getting our conversation about theaters, I was talking about Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Mhm.
Um, are you a fan of Ghostbusters? Have you seen the Ghostbusters movies?
I don't think I've seen any of them. I know I've definitely heard of Ghostbusters, but I'm trying to think if I've ever seen any of the other ones, like, when they first came out when I was younger, but I don't think I have.
Oh, okay. So this movie would probably, I would say, not be for you then, because this movie is packed with references from the original movie from 1984.
Okay.
So
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 I'd
if
have
you
to watch that first.
what's that? Say it
I'd
again.
have to watch that first, like the one from 1984, and then
It
I
would
could
be
watch this.
it would be a good idea. Yeah, it'd be a good because they make all these references. It's packed full of these. I mean, it's like almost like someone made a statement on the internet, and it seems like every 10 seconds, it's like there's some sort of reference to the original movie. So and if you
Oh,
don't know what the original movie's about, you're gonna these things are gonna go way over your head. It's like, and that's for me. That was kind of like you're going a little overboard into that.
mhm.
The movie was also, in my opinion, a I would call it like I wouldn't call it a sequel. I would rather call more like a spin-off. So it's like it's not like the main characters from the first two movies are not really in the movie. It's a new cast of characters.
Okay.
So
So
they
no
are
one from the old movie is in it.
they are, but only for like the last 10 minutes of the movie. So, but what I mean is the main focal point of the movie is these new characters that they're introducing. So, and so it's I would say that if you're looking at it for a movie that's a spin-off, that's not um, a sequel, this would be fine. If you want to watch a movie where it's like it's based on the original movie, that's fine. But if you're looking for a movie like I was, that I thought the original cast was going to be in it throughout the entire thing, then this is not the movie for you. So, um,
What would you rate it?
I give it. That's a good question. If based on the fact that I thought that the original cast was not, I would was not the focal point, I'd probably say I give it a 5 out of 10. But I'd probably give it maybe an 8 out of 10 if I was looking for a spinoff. So depending on how you look at it. So if you're looking for a movie that's based on the original movie, it's an okay movie. If you're looking for a movie that's a sequel, a true sequel, that's not a true sequel. So I give it a much lower rating. So
What's a little bit different than it would be a sequel because they kind of did it as a spinoff. You said?
yeah, In fact, it wasn't even called Ghostbusters 3. If it was, then it would have been like an actual. And they're not marketing it as a sequel. I'm sorry, they're not marketing it as a spinoff. They're marketing it as basically like a sequel, kind of. And so and for me, I was disappointed because of that fact. It also seemed like the first half of the movie was boring because
Mhm.
they basically rehash everything from the first movie all over again. And it's the focal. If you want to watch a movie about little kids learning how to use a new, ghost busting equipment, it just kind of dragged on. And I was like, oh, this is just not my thing. So
Mhm.
um, but anyway, I would, for those who are they're out there, this movie is getting rave reviews by a lot of people. I think it was kind of manipulative because one of the writers who also starred in the movie, his name was Harold Ramis. He passed away about 5 or 6 years ago, and the movie was actually dedicated to him. It was more or less just a homage to him as a writer and an actor to the movie. And unfortunately, that focused way too much on that and not on an actual good story, in my opinion. So, in fact, what they did was since he's dead, they created a CGI version of him and made him a ghost in the movie.
Hmm,
So
cool.
it's it was actually done very well. That part was done pretty well,
Huh.
but that if you've ever seen the original Ghostbusters movies, you know that they weren't about being paying homages. It was about funny stuff. It was comedy, like the older comedians like Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, Harold
Mhm.
Ramis, the three of them, doing their comedy routines. That wasn't there. That was completely absent from the movie. So if you're looking for those old style movies, I don't know if you're familiar with the movies like from the 70s and 80s, like Animal House, Stripes,
Mhm.
the ones that Dan Aykroyd did, like the Blues Brothers.
Oh,
Um, if you're familiar with those kind of comedies, that's what the original Ghostbusters was like. This is not like that. So
okay. So it's more modern, like how they try to make everything. I
yeah,
feel like yeah.
more modern, and it's more. It has the main cast are kids, so the kids are like between the ages of 12 and 16.
I think I
So
can see a preview for that now that you're saying that they're kids.
Yeah, and if I had known it was going to be like what it was, I probably wouldn't have watched it. Then, to be honest. So, and I know a lot of people out there love it, and that's fine. I'm just not a. For me, it just wasn't my thing. So, and the whole part at the end, they try to make it a tearjerker scene where they bring Harold Ramis's character back as a ghost, and it was emotional, and I felt like they were trying to play with people's emotions. I thought, no, this is just a little too sappy. It didn't need to do that.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah. And a lot of people, if you watch, I've watched a lot of people on YouTube where they said they were watching the movie and they cried. A lot of people said they cried at the end. So
Well, so it's a
it,
sad, if you want to watch something kind of sad.
yeah, yeah, it gives you an emotional response. Yeah, if you're looking for something like that, yeah, this is the movie for you. So if you're looking for something from like the style from the 70s and 80s with that style of humor with Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, you're not going to get that with this one, except for like the last 10 minutes, you'll get a little bit of that, but that's about it. So
I'd still be curious to watch the old one and then kind of check out this new one to see in comparison. But yeah, if I haven't seen the old one yet, I should probably hold off on the new one.
oh,
But
and
people listening.
yeah, the old one was actually an adult movie. I don't know if you know this, but the original movie was actually an adult movie, and what I mean by that, there's a lot of adult humor in there. It's not made for kids.
Okay. And
It's not. What's that?
and then this new one is more for kids, like a kid
Yeah,
movie. It's kind of like
exactly.
I picture it kind of like Power Rangers in a way.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like more for and this is made for more of a family type movie, whereas the first one definitely had some jokes that some people would find really objectionable. It's just almost sexist in some ways, but they're doing that because that's their kind of humor. This one definitely withheld from that kind of humor. It was definitely completely gone.
And I
So
feel like back then you could do humor like that, but like nowadays if people did humor like that, I feel like it would not go over well at all.
probably, yeah, yeah.
So
So the and the reason that the Ghostbusters, the reason they're gearing it toward that is because when the original movie came out, it wasn't made for kids, but it became popular for kids. Kids just
mhm.
flocked to it during the 80s. And so it became a kids movie, even though it wasn't really a kids movie. And if you watch it, you'll see it's definitely not. There's some scenes in there that there's a lot of sexual innuendo that's, it's clearly not made for kids. So, and
Right,
it's
but
just,
it's like those things that, like, people fit in, like, the Disney movies or something, like, when you watch it as a kid, you don't realize anything, like, it's hinting at anything, but then when you watch it as an adult, you're like, "Oh, that's what they meant," or, like, "I didn't even notice that as a kid."
yeah,
Um, I feel like a lot of songs or movies just like that in general.
yeah,
That's like a thing going on TikTok right now, like, people are playing songs and, um like me like I think like the caption or whatever is like me finding out at this age now like what this song is actually about, like when my teenage self like listened to it and thought it was just about like candy shop, like thinking it's just about a candy shop, but like not being older realizing what the songs are actually about.
Candy Shop. I'm not familiar with that. Is that pardon my ignorance. Is that a popular song?
Yeah, that was like a popular back in like 2000s 90s, like it was by 50 Cent. It was like take me to the candy shop. Do you know what song I'm talking about?
No, sorry. I'm not. All my radio experience is all mostly talk radio and news, so I don't really know much about music. Sorry.
Oh,
So
no, it's okay. It was just like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of songs came out like that. There was like, "My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard" or something, but it's like, as a kid, you're thinking like, "Oh, she has a milkshake," like, and it's all attracting all the boys, but it's like, no, it's like her booty, like, or her body or whatever.
yeah,
Um, yeah.
it's the same with the video game that I we talk about Grand Theft Auto. The game itself is clearly made for adults, and there's a lot of inside stuff that only adults would understand, but the kids play it anyway, and so and there's a lot of sexual references in those games. And I'm not going to bring them up here, of course, but I'm amazed how many kids come onto my videos. I have the video games on there, and they're like some of them are telling me they're like 5, 10 years old. I'm like, you shouldn't be playing. If I had a kid that was that age, I wouldn't be letting them play that game. So, it's
And maybe the parents don't know, like, they don't realize because they're not maybe playing it, so they were just like, "Oh, it's just a video game."
yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's
The
crazy.
the other thing about the movies, this one had I didn't see this part. I had someone had to tell me about this because the version I saw had cut off the closing credits. So I didn't get a chance to see this. This is a common thing nowadays. Movies that have a scene at the end of the closing credits. How do you feel about that?
Oh, so it's a scene related to the movie, it's not like yeah, I that's what you're talking about, right? Like a scene
Yeah.
after all the credits that, like Um, I feel like a lot of different directors do stuff like that. It always makes me wanna stay and watch all the credits to see if there'll be something at the end, but then I get disappointed when there's not, and I just sat through, like, 20 minutes of credits, and I'm like, "Oh, I guess that was the end." But it is cool to kinda watch the credits and see kinda like, I like that stuff. I know some people just, like, wanna leave during the credits, but sometimes I enjoy watching it to see, like, who all made it and, like, where it was made, where the props people are from, like, whatever. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I should look like, do you know why they do that? Is it to so people stay and watch the credits and then it's at the end, or
Well,
'cause otherwise couldn't they just, like, add it to the end?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure of the reason, but I do know it's become a trend lately, and
Mhm.
I do agree with you. I like sitting there and watching the credits just to see all the what's on there, who did what. It's always and when I was a little kid, I used to purposely into my teenage years, into my 20s, even I would even sit and watch movies just to see if there was an end scene, which very rarely ever happened back then. It was once in a while they would have a scene that I just think it's gone a little overboard nowadays. It's like it's become a trend. It's kind of taken away the I don't know if the mystique is the right word. Is there going to be a scene at the end? And now it's like almost most movies tend to not most, but a lot of them tend to have them nowadays. So it's back in the day, back in the 80s and 90s, it was very rare to see one. So now it's like it's more common. And it was always fun to sit through the end of the closing credits to see if there's going to be something that popped up. And it's kind of taken away that fun for me. I used to sit there just to watch it, and now it's like now they do it more often. So it's like I don't know. It just seems like it's something is missing for me, or something's lost because of that. So
I feel like a lot of times when they like I feel like when they do that, it's usually, like, the story ends and maybe, like, that's the ending, but then this next clip is kind of, like, shows you maybe you have a question like what happened to this character, or like I kind of wish I knew what happened a little bit beyond this ending, and then they kind of show that in that ending clip after the credits. I feel like that's kind of what I've more so noticed.
hmm. Now it's interesting you brought that up. There's a movie you probably have not seen this. I'm not. You maybe you have. It's called Young Sherlock Holmes. It came out sometime during the 1980s. Have you ever seen that movie?
I don't think I've seen that one, but I know like of the Sherlock Holmes movies.
Okay. Well, this one came out I don't remember the exact it's been a while since I've seen this, but I saw it in the theater. I don't think I've seen it since. I do remember at the very end of as the credits started to roll, having a closing a scene at the end of the credits was not common, but this movie had a closing scene at the
Mhm.
end of the credits. And I remember as people were getting ready to leave the theater, one of the people who worked in the theater said, "There's a scene at the end of the credits that will add something to the plot or something." He actually was yelling really loudly so everyone could hear him. He wasn't trying to just make sure his voice was heard. He was
Mhm.
basically shouting it really loudly, saying, "If you will stay to the end of the credits, you'll be able to see a final scene that divulges something." And it was kind of funny because and I remember almost half the audience ended up leaving. They didn't really care. The other half actually sat back down and waited for the closing credits to end so they could see his final scene. So, I mean, nowadays it would be, it would be very common for people to just wait around, I guess. But back
Right.
then it was just like I don't know what year it was, mid 80s sometime. And I do remember, oops,
Oh, you got
yeah.
a home phone.
Yes.
I haven't
Yes.
heard that kind of ringing forever.
You hold on a second here. I just turned off the ringer. When what was I gonna say? I got the phone distracted me. Sorry. I remember the scene did divulge that I think the main protagonist in the movie, oh, I'm sorry, the antagonist in the movie actually survived. So, and that was what the whole scene was to show you that he actually didn't get killed or whatever, or knocked off or killed off or something. So it wasn't really that big of a deal. I do remember another movie that had a closing scene was Ferris Bueller's Day Off. You ever seen that movie?
Yeah, there's an ending. There's a scene after the credits on that one. I didn't
Yeah.
notice
Yeah.
that. Okay.
And Matthew Broderick walks out after he breaks the fourth wall. That's when the actor talks to the
Mhm.
camera. He
Mhm.
walks up to the camera and says, "Why are you still here? Go home." And he just like, shakes his, shrugs his shoulders and walks away from the camera. So
Hmm. Okay. I didn't realize that one had that in there.
yeah,
But
it's one of the few. I'm trying to think of any others from the past. Now, obviously, more modern movies have them, but those are the only two that always pop into my head.
Mhm.
But those are fun because they're there. The other ones are like, like I said, it's just it's just taken away the whole thing, the whole thrill of it. So,
Mhm.
but in fact, it's gone to a point where sometimes you have to actually sit through them just to see this extra scene. I think, what was the movie? It didn't do very well. One of the Terminator movies, one of the recent ones, not the most recent one, the one before it. Salvation, I think it was called. Um, and there was a scene where that showed something that happened and you had to you thought that the main character was going to be killed, and the same thing, it just divulged it. No, he actually survived, but they didn't show how he survived. And there's going to be, and there never was a sequel, so it didn't really matter anyway. So,
Hmm.
and
Okay.
yeah, it was one of those things. It's anyway. I personally, I'll wrap this up by saying, yeah, I think that it's a cool idea, but it's just been overused. Is my main problem with it.
Yeah, maybe if people stopped it for a while and then brought it back in a few years, and people would be like, "Oh, yeah, like, I forgot about this." Or, like, it's kinda like those little short story films that play before, like, Pixar or, like, certain, like, animation movies, like the little animations. Those are fun, though. I think they're, like, completely different than the story. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They still do that at theaters.
I feel like for certain movies, I feel like they're more animated movies, though. Well, I mean, there's not a lot of animated movies out anymore, but, um yeah, there was a commercial that was on the other day, and it was on Thanksgiving, and it was, like, this little claymation, and it was seriously, like, a minute and a half long, and everyone, like, all the people that I was with were like, "Oh my gosh, what is this commercial for?" Because it was this, like, cute little story. It was actually a very well done commercial, and I thought it was really a good idea, and then at the end, because it gets this farmer planting crops and, like, putting up, like, energy things, and just, like, him kind of going from being sad to, like, raising his own farm and doing everything, like, solar powered or something. And then at the end, this truck comes and, like, he puts the food in it, and the truck drives away, and it shows you a Chipotle sign. So it was for Chipotle, and everyone was thinking it was going to be something like big or like or nothing at all, and then it was for Chipotle, and it was like in the middle of a Thanksgiving football game. So I'm sure that would cost them so much to do and make, but it was a really cool commercial. It reminded me of one of those like movies
Hmm.
because it
Let's
was
see.
like a claymation. Look
The
up Chipotle commercial, like claymation commercial. It's a really cool commercial.
Okay. I thought you were referring to, so this was actually on TV then, is what you're saying?
Yeah, this one was on TV. It was a commercial, but it reminded me of those, like, little short films that played before, like, those movies.
Yeah, there was, if we're talking about the short movies, yeah, have you seen the movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
I think so, yeah. That came out a few years ago, right? Or, like,
Uh,
a year ago?
no, this is 1988. It's a very old movie.
Okay, I feel like they redid that because I think I or maybe it was a show that was based on that came out
Okay.
recently that I saw.
Okay, the original that one came out, if there is a sequel, I'm not familiar with that. But yeah, the original one came out in 1988, and during the late '80s and early '90s, they actually made some short cartoons based on that character that ran before other movies. So,
Okay.
and I think they only did 3 of them as far as I know. So, but I d and that's what I thought you were leading up to, was something like that, like a cartoon at the beginning. So, kind of like what they did back in the 40s and 50s. They would run a cartoon, and they don't do that stuff that much anymore. Usually it's just a bunch of commercials, which is like, or movie
Yeah,
trailers.
movie trailers, yeah.
And what drives me crazy is when you go to a theater and you look up and there's a commercial on there. It's like, oh goodness, I don't even watch commercials at home, and I have to sit through this commercial. And what the other thing that bugs me is, if well, I'm sitting talking to my whoever I'm with, like my friends or family or whatever, and I'm talking and it's a commercial and people start shushing me during a commercial.
Yeah,
I was
that's
like, are you kidding me? It's a commercial.
gotta be quiet in the theater.
It's like, it's like, well, I can understand if it was like maybe the movie, maybe the trailer, but definitely the movie I can understand. But a commercial, what are you missing by
They
talking over the
really
commercial?
wanted that product that the commercial was about.
Yes. So let's see. I've got one more comment here. Let me bring it up here. Ye Cat GTA Trilogy upload. Thanks, man. Okay, cool. So the there's I don't know if you know this, but they just recently re-released some of the older Grand Theft Auto games. I think that's what he's referring to,
Oh,
the trilogy. So I've been uploading some of those lately. So thank you for the comment there. Alrighty, well, let's check our comments here. Our question here from earlier today. Let's see, 78 votes. Let me hit refresh, make sure. Got this. 81 votes so far.
Okay, so a lot of the first week of December. So
Yeah,
maybe I have to wait another week.
Yeah, so 60% with our yeah. When do you start putting holiday decorations? 60% first week of December. Next one, 16%. I already have them up. 14% I don't put up decorations,
Mhm.
and 10% with just after Thanksgiving. Okay,
So that would be this weekend.
cool. And we got one comment so far. It says from Fury says never personally don't care about Christmas. This should just be another normal day. I don't see me doing like everyone like everybody. I don't want to be with my I don't want to be with my family. I want to be alone, but I have no choice. Oh.
That's so sad. It is interesting though, like everyone knows what the true meaning behind Christmas is or like the holiday that they're celebrating, but it is interesting that like everyone comes together and like puts up all these decorations and like um decorates for like this one day, but like put so much time and effort into like decorating for a whole month. Um and like everyone comes together and like it's just interesting we have a thing called holidays that there are. I mean, I feel like maybe it helps people. Maybe people look forward to it, maybe people don't look forward to it. Maybe this person doesn't really look forward to it, but
I don't I for me it's not too big of a deal. I mean, if it was a holiday or not a holiday, it's not too big of a deal. It's when I was one thing I do like about the end with the holidays, it doesn't happen much more as much as it used to. I used to get invited to a lot of parties with people that were friends, but I've been kind of like distanced from them lately, so it's like I kind of miss that part of it. So like friends would call me, say, "Would you like to come over for to get together?" And there'll be a whole bunch of people I hadn't seen for a while, and it's kind of neat to see them. But that has not happened for probably a while now, but it was those are kind of fun. The as far as like the celebrating, I can relate to that. I'm not, but I don't usually go out of my way to celebrate the holiday, but I don't go around. I don't dismiss it either. So
right.
it's so
I
the
think
one thing
yeah.
I was gonna say one thing I don't like, and you're gonna I don't. This doesn't mean I hate Christmas, but I just sometimes the Christmas music can get kind of annoying. I'm not a
Mhm.
big fan of Christmas music, so so
Yeah, I only really listen to Christmas music when I'm wrapping presents just to kinda get in the mood, but other than that, like, I don't need to be listening to it on the radio. Like, I know we play some stuff on the like and it's, like, nice, I guess, if you're driving around holiday shopping and, like, getting into the spirit, but I'm just like, I don't need to be listening to it all day long.
right. Now, how about what? Are you a country music fan?
Mm, there's some artists that I like, there's some artists that I'm like, I wouldn't have to listen to this," but, I mean, like, I appreciate all music, but it's not probably my top choice to listen
Okay.
to.
I didn't want to say anything that would be if that you might make you upset. I hate Christmas music and I hate country music. So it's that's what it comes to. And I also I'm not a very a big fan of 80s music either. So it's probably maybe because I was a when I was growing up during that period. I don't know why there's something about that music. It's just not. I like 70s music, I like 90s music, but for some reason the 80s music, not all of it. There are some 80s songs I really do like. But
Mhm.
generally speaking, if I hear in general the 80s, if I hear a song from the 80s or country music or Christmas music, I have to turn it off pretty quickly. So
That's funny. I wonder what you would have done in this situation. I was at this, like, little part-time job I started a month or so ago, and I had put on, I think, like, 80s classic rock music, and then I think one of the owners I know he changed it, but I think he came in and, like, while I was in the bathroom and changed it to 2021 country music, and I was just like, "Really? You were in here for 2 minutes and changed it to country music on me?" I was, like, happily listening to this classic rock all morning, but, like, I was like, "Why?" Like, did he just really could not stand it that much that he had to change it for the 3 minutes that he was there? So I thought that was kinda funny. So it's interesting you say you don't like country or 80s and, like, you wouldn't wanna listen to it. So I was like,
yeah,
maybe he just wanted to listen to country for that minute.
yeah,
Yeah.
country music drives me insane. I hate is a strong word. I because actually the old country music from like the 70s and 80s is actually okay. Um, but it's like there was a changeover during like the 90s, I think, and that just got really for me. It's just like it's just not that good. So I don't know what happened. I had to work. I worked at this one place where there was me and another guy. We worked and he brought his radio in and he was always playing country music and it just drove me crazy. I had to work in we were in the same little working environment for like 8 hours every day. Just 8 hours of country music drove me crazy. Couldn't stand it. So
Yeah. I mean, there's, yeah, some artists that I'm like, "Oh, this is good," and it's like country, but then yeah, it just depends. But then maybe the one artist that I don't care for, they'll come out with a great song, and I'm like, "Okay, this is a really good song." Like, it's probably more so about the songs.
yeah. What you get if you play a country song backwards, right?
What?
You get your job back, your dog comes back home, and your girlfriend comes back to you.
Oh, yeah. Funny. Yeah, I mean, that is a lot about what the songs are about too, so I'm just like, if someone can, like, be more creative and, like, have a good storyline of their song and it's country or, like, a big good concept or a good hook or chorus, then I'm like, "Oh, this is a good song," even
Yeah.
though it's country.
Yeah,
But
yeah, in general, I know what you're saying. Yeah, I'm not saying I would probably hate every single song, but there are probably a lot of songs that I probably don't like. I do find I did work at a place one time several years ago. This was before I was in radio. Actually, I was part time in radio at the time. I worked at another full time job, and the place I worked at, everybody that worked there was not born in the United States. They're all from the Middle East. One guy was from China, and the other people were from the Middle East. I was the only American born person there, and they loved country music, which really surprised me. I didn't realize that. And the reason they gave that they loved country music is because it's slower and they could understand the words.
you know
So
what's interesting is I just learned this a few weeks ago that different countries, I forget where it is, but they had like their style of music, but when they got like all this music, like country, pop, like rock, like they were given to it all at once and they didn't really know the difference like between genres and everything. So they just listened to it and were like, okay, like this sound, or I like this beat, or like whatever. Like, yeah. So like I don't even know if they know it's like country. Like that's like what it's labeled as, like country or whatever. But they were just given, or maybe it was like the time periods too, just given like a bunch of different music all at once because it all came to them at once. So they're like comparing something from the 80s to the 2000s and are like, what? But they came from like completely different time periods.
that's interesting. Wow, and these are people that were like from other countries, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, because like say like there's K-pop or whatever that's like current and popular, but then if like I forget when it was, I can't remember what they told me, but I remember them saying like who was telling me this said like at one point they just got pushed like all the music because they like discovered it. They came across like the music, but they were coming across stuff from the 80s and then stuff from like the 70s or 60s and like 90s, and then they didn't have like a concept of what came first, like the Beatles came before, or like Britney Spears or something like that. They're like, they didn't know like who came first. And I just thought that was interesting. Like they didn't know like that some of the music from like the Beatles or whatever is, or Michael Jackson or like these like legends that influenced all these like newer artists. They thought maybe like In Sync came before the Beatles, or like you know what I mean? Like they just had like a no concept of
Right. I mean, I can relate to that in some ways because I worked with those people from other countries and they would play their music, and I had no understanding of where their music was from, what time period or anything like that. So for me, it just sounded like it was all the same, I guess. Not to be insulting, of course, to anybody from another country. So
right. We just don't know because we're not from that country, like where
right.
they don't know. Yeah.
And yeah, yeah, most of the people that were from the Middle East, like Syria, I think, not Iraq or Iran, but some of the other countries, Syria, and anyway, but yeah, they would play their music once in a while. I was like, yeah, I don't really understand this, and yeah, so I can relate to that. So, one final thing. Let's see. Hold on a second here. One more final comment. Sup, y'all, from Matthias. So there we go. Alrighty. So I guess we can go ahead and wrap everything up. Did you have anything else you wanted to say before we say goodbye?
No, I hope you're getting your holiday shopping in and you got it a good Thanksgiving. It's shopping weekend.
Oh, that's right. That's correct. Yeah. Oh, goodness. I forgot about that. Yes, yes. Is that before we go, is that really a thing right now? I was just curious. I know I haven't been paying attention. Are people really hoarding, going to the malls and buying everything like they usually do, or has that been, I mean, with the pandemic, has it kind of slowed down, or?
I mean, the mall over here is pretty busy today. I had to go run downtown and drop some stuff off that I make to this boutique, and there was tons of people out. There was like people caroling in the street. There was like a different play going on like throughout the street, and there was tons of people shopping and different deals going on. I know it's Small Business Saturday today, which is like the different small businesses, local businesses have deals and stuff. But I feel like a lot of people are doing online shopping. Like I'm buying everything online. I'm like, should I wait till Cyber Monday? Is there going to be a better deal? But I've noticed that you can like look at the website and like see the code, and sometimes it'll say like valid till the 29th, which is like Monday. So it'll be the same deal.
Yeah.
throughout the whole weekend, but
I was just curious about I do remember when I was now this is when I was working at Shadow Traffic back in the 1990s as an airborne reporter. They would have me fly. I was not a pilot. I was a reporter. And I had a pilot that would fly me in a small fixed wing aircraft, and we would fly on Fridays. What we would do is they'd have me fly over top of the shopping malls just
Mhm.
to see so we give traffic reports because on Friday because there's no rush hour traffic obviously on a Friday after Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
So we would just give traffic reports for people going into and out of the shopping center. So they had me fly like like one shopping mall, then another large shopping mall, and another. So, and back then I remember it was huge, except for one. There was one mall in Maryland in DC in the DC area that for some reason no one would shop at. That was the only one that was dead, but all the other ones were packed. And I that was like I said, the late '90s. So I'm just curious if it's still that like that. I
Yeah,
the
on Friday.
yeah, that's why I was asking the whole question to begin with. If people, and based on what you're saying, at least at that one location, it was pretty packed. So
Yeah, and I think the mall is pretty busy because there's really only like it's a smaller town, so I feel like there's really just the mall and like there's like a Kohl's like not in the mall, but um yeah, people like to shop.
oh, okay. Well, it's I think that's my question. I guess last year would probably be the year. I mean, where I'm at right now, no one seems to really care about being catching anything anymore. I think people just want to get back to having a normal life, so to speak. So
Um,
I wouldn't be surprised if the shopping is pretty much back to normal for this year. So I just I know I still do traffic, but it's to actually without actually having a camera to look at or flying over top like I used to. There's no way to actually tell if without going to those locations if there's actually jammed
right.
up traffic. So I'm just curious. I mean, if anyone could leave a comment that tell me, I'm just curious how packed it actually if it still gets that busy. For some reason I think it hasn't, but then I remember talking to people and they'll say like you were saying like it was where they were. So I guess it just seems so interesting that one day and through Monday it's like everybody's just packing in to get all that stuff done right away. So
The sales, the deals that are going on, the doorbusters.
yeah, yeah. And some people I've even seen people like line up real early, like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
I don't
Yes.
want to get trimmed. Like I don't want no. I will sit and drink coffee and have a blanket and shop online. That's what I'm
Yeah.
gonna do.
Yeah. In fact, I do almost all my shopping for anything, for any reason online. In fact, I've gotten to the point where you know this because I've had to interrupt what we're doing. I even do my food shopping online now.
Yeah,
So like
it's a
grocery shopping. So
mhm.
alrighty. So yeah, we'll go ahead and end it. And thanks everybody. If you want to leave any more comments in the comment section, we'll read them next. We'll try to get to them next week. Thanks everybody.